You have asked me to review the smallest Jeep. This one here is the Jeep Avenger, and we have it here in the 85th anniversary edition, and also as the 4xe, because I mean a proper Jeep needs some all-wheel drive, doesn't it? We're going to take a look, exterior, interior and driving of the Jeep Avenger with Thomas Nautical Fuel in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the front. Very strong Jeep front, and recently also a little bit updated with the front grille and the lower bumper and so on. And the 85th anniversary edition also then has here these accentuations, like these golden ones actually. You know, just telling about the whole heritage about the brand, and some off-road features, like for example here this black wrap on top of the hood that is reducing reflections when driving off-road and so on. So yeah, I mean, why not? And some Easter eggs here, for example, like this I'm sure if it's supposed like a BMX rider here on top of the mountain peak or something like that. Why not, to spice it up a little bit? This one here is available as a combustion engine and also as an all-electric version soon about all the powertrains. Then next to the strong front, by the way, optional matrix LED, we can also see them right here. Side profile, it's a short vehicle at 4 meters and 8 or 161 inches, and we have wheels from 16 to 18 inch. These are the larger ones, 18 inch, and once again with these accentuations. And the Willis MB, here the front grille, the traditional one as an Easter egg, and here as well at the center of the wheel cap. So why not giving some emotional features there? Also classic, rather upright building style. The rear doors are attached right here. It's a difference also to the platform brother, the Fiat 600, and the Alfa Junior is another platform brother. They're all together built in Poland. And the Fiat 600 has a normal door handle right here. And not too bad, these off-road features here, 22 degrees approaching angle. Then we have 21 centimeters of ground clearance and even 35 degrees of descending angle. Three-dimensional tail lamp here, and of course here for towing off-road situations. Of course, this is not like for a trailer or something, but for being pulled out of that, or maybe you pull someone out. Probably better that way around, right? So styling works very well. I think the 4xe version here, this one is with an additional electric motor at the rear. And in this case here, the 4xe version is only available for the combustion engine. That's a little bit peculiar, because in the new Jeep Compass, the 4xe version is only the all-electric one, whereas here the all-wheel drive version is the mild hybrid one. So you have an all-electric version with 51 kilowatt hours in the battery, and then you have the 1.2 liter 3-cylinder petrol engine, and that one is available in different specs, mild hybrid, and then here this one is also the all-wheel drive spec. As I said, additional electric motor in the rear, here also nicely dampened underneath, and this is also in the quickest spec, which is then below 10 seconds in the acceleration figure. We'll of course drive that one here today, and since we last time drove the little bit weaker horsepower one from the Fiat 600, we also can compare that a little bit. And you know, we are a channel of details here, and there was one specific length detail I've been examining in detail indeed. So the length is, as I said, 4 meters 8, 161 inches, but there's also, when you read the all-wheel drive version, 4 meters 11 or 162 inches. And I was like, why is that actually? And well, there is this hook here that you can pull people out of the sandpit or something. But then I was measuring, like, wait a minute, it's 6 centimeters. So is that really the difference that comes from the hook? And yes, it is. And why is that? Because here, this rear bumper is a little bit longer in the middle. So you basically have to put a line here first, and then it shows that you measure here the hook from there. And this is then about 3 centimeters longer. And that then explains, yes, it is the hook, although it's longer than 3 centimeters. From this line here, this part is 3 centimeters longer. So that means when you have this all-wheel drive version and you have the hook, this is then the reason it's 3 centimeters longer, right? It's very good to know. And since we're already in the deep dive of technology and so on, you remember this one here is the mild hybrid one, and we have the 12-volt starter battery. The normal one here in the front, next to the engine block. Then we have the 48 volt, so higher voltage battery from the mild hybrid system underneath the driver's seat. That's why this cutout is a little bit strange here, and this is pretty high underneath the driver's seat, and this footrest area is a little bit smaller, but you don't realize it that much. So this is in the high voltage battery. And then here we also have the all-wheel drive version, and the electric motor needs like a control unit and so on. And underneath here, this felt, this is then where the only mild hybrid version would have more space underneath, and you could put this one also then, you know, a little bit lower. Here, this one then is different, that we have this additional electric piece then underneath. So yeah, there you know where you have which in the positioning. Now to the interior, standard Stellantis key fob, just with the Jeep badge, then door closing sound. Yeah, here the rear doors are attached here, or open there. Yeah, door closing sound is nothing to be mentioned, let's take it that way. Some updates here in the recent model year update. This is now soft touch. There's also a difference to the Fiat 600, for example, where it's all hardback. So here then you have a soft leatherette, and here that should be softer for your elbow though. Standard control for the windows and also for the side mirrors. This is all hardback here. Then we have the steering wheel. It's a soft leatherette. It's a nice material, nicely structured, also a little bit dampened underneath. And then you have classic controls here for the cruise control, right side for the volume, real buttons at the steering wheel. Here, this one gets also proper large digital instruments. They are larger than with the Fiat 600. That's also another difference. Then this is here the 85th anniversary edition, and that's why we have these special Clark pattern seats, and then here the logo with the Willis MB, and this then here also a fabric. There are of course different seats available, fabric, leatherette mix and so on. Here we have got it a little bit on the outside, and then we also have the off-road rubber floor mats and steering wheel up and down, in and out. And the seats are nice. You also find a good seating position as a tall adult. That's fine. Of course, it's not the largest car. Gotta say that. You see it here, you know, with the angle of my knees. So gotta put it in perspective. But for the headroom, this one is fine with one A9 602. And it also has here in this edition like a special pattern from the inside of that seating. Then here to the cockpit. Interesting is that we have here in this platform this glove box, which comes down like a tray, so this has a huge opening. It's interesting. You can maybe use it as a picnic table or something, and yeah, goes deep in there. Then we have some leatherette here also on the dash, so that's also nice. Hardback though on the top part. Classic manual here for the vents. Then we have some hotkeys here, home menu, but here this is important, like you go to the vehicle setting, but when you press and hold directly, then the EU speed chime law beep 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 goes directly off, so that's actually good. And you have in the top part here horizontal infotainment system, hotkey then to Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and this is what you will be mostly using. The infotainment system is not the quickest one from the responsiveness. Happy to have here manual volume jog and also manual for the AC. Right side is then the fan speed, for example. So yeah, really happy to have that in that way. Here with the MHEV, the shifting buttons are down there for reverse, neutral and drive. Then 85th anniversary edition has the Clark pattern here from underneath. You can close that one or have it like open. And then this inductive charging pad is not ventilated though. And then you have the charging USB-A and USB-C down there, and the 12 volt power supply, some space. Terrain select if you want to go off-roading, auto sports, sand, mud, snow mode and so on. But yeah, it's not a real off-roader, although it has all-wheel drive. And then here you have some adjustments for the cup holders. But the question is always like, does it really fit the exact bottle then? Some space here underneath with this armrest, and this is also here a little bit nicely padded on the top. And I also have my favorite funny feature for you here today, the indicator sound. Yeah, it's like the DJ is turning up the bass or the beat drum. You've maybe also seen like a short reel from us about this. It's the hazard lights, and it's also turning indicators. At least when the ignition is on. If the ignition is off, then there's no sound from the indicators because it's over the speakers. It's no stand like old school relay about that. And the hazard lights, they always work though and give that sound. And just been imagine, hopefully not, but should you at some point have an accident and you roll over and you're like in the car like, oh, and then the indicators go on automatically, you are hanging in the car, you know, upside down, and you're like, ah, at least I got the beat. And then you get rolling again, hopefully climb out of the vehicle. Then the rear seating, I have no problem with the height here, with 189, 602, that's okay, but legroom, it's a short vehicle, you know, and then when a tall person is driving, adults can hardly only fit behind here. Theoretically, you could also use the fifth seat. USB-C charging is in the front there. A small one, big metal tunnel, and everything hardback here. So yeah, basically interesting formulation. And the seating itself is actually quite comfortable, you know, the fabric here and so on, but it's just the legroom here because the car is just too short than for tall adults. To the trunk or the boot, 355 liters in this case because this is MHEV and the all-wheel drive actually, so we have a little bit less in liters. This one still fits vertically. Then we have, there's like 95 centimeters, 38 inches here in the width. The normal length is at 27 inches or almost 70 centimeters, and underneath we cannot put it in a lower position, but here they have like, you know, some small storage. That's about it actually. And then in height, we can at least put this one on the way. I can measure that for you. And then we're here in the height of 70 centimeters, 28 inches. And then when this one is removed, we can also easy fold the seats. There we go. And then probably it goes that must go a little bit lower, I guess, right? Does it? Yeah, I mean, you could put the head restraints out, then they would go a little bit lower, but then the front seats also would need to move forward a little bit. And here we are in a total length of about 53 inches or 1 meters 35. Let's see how much power we have here with the mild hybrid. 9.5 seconds is the acceleration figure officially with the Jeep Avenger, mild hybrid, all-wheel drive. Let's push it. Maybe sport mode. Sport mode. Oh, there's a Fiat Topolino coming. We should not run that one over, right? So let's make space.
Off-road space.
Yeah, let's come on. Let's go a little bit off-roading here.
Oh.
Oh, and there's now what's an Alpine A390, I think, electric. There we go. Okay, and now we can do our rally kickstart here in the sport mode. Instruments went red, and let's go. Oh, nice, that was 0 to 90 kilometers an hour. It's actually not too bad, right? So 9.5 seconds is the official figure, as I said, but this is decent and also quicker than with the version to the very base version we had with the Fiat 600 with the manual. And yeah, we can go back to the normal auto mode here. So there we go, and let's go to public roads. See about the steering and suspension and so on. So here we have the beat indicators. They are not that audible here when also the AC is running and so on, but you do hear them, you know, and you definitely feel the beat. Here in the roundabout, you already feel it's more like a there's the beat again. Yeah. So steering is very light. Is it? Let's see here. Maybe a little bit more resistance in the sport mode, indeed. Yeah, but light overall. Nice material. It's also a small, compact size. You can well control it. And when I try to shake up the vehicle, yeah, it gives it gives a little bit Jeep off-road vibes, indeed. So you feel that the suspension setup should be comfortable. We do have the 18-inch wheels here, so the largest wheels, but it's not that they would be rough or bumpy or something. And here we can do some countryside road tests. So we can now go to 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. do a first test of the insulation and so on. Yeah, I mean the engine sounds a little bit working, but only when you really push it. Otherwise it's smooth. Also with this MF system here at 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, it drives nice, drives smooth, and it's also not too loud. It is similar in the driving to the Fiat 600. I do have the feeling we sit a little bit higher here somehow, so it has a little bit more Jeep touch to it, definitely. And I mean, now with the update, we also have like the soft touch at the inside of the door, so a little bit more quality feeling. The rear view camera has a better resolution, for example. So some small deals. 0.9 kilowatt hour in the battery. Do we also have from time to time some electric moments? When I go off the throttle, it also goes into the charge mode, so we can regenerate some energy. We'll also see how it is then from the consumption then at the end of our test drive. It feels nice and light and agile here in the city, and maybe you think because the interior is maybe not the most fancy one and so on, that's also not so special in driving, but we realized it already with the Fiat 600 that this small platform here actually drives very well. It feels agile and light, and it is fun to drive. That the other Jeep models, they always promise you the off-road capabilities or like this rugged look on the exterior and so on. This one is more about being a city vehicle, definitely, but it's not that uncomfortable, so you can also do some longer journeys with it. And this one gives you indeed more driving fun because it is so small, compact and light, and that's actually a cool thing about it. Yeah, you feel also when you have some waves that the suspension is rather soft, but it's totally fine. From a Jeep you expect the suspension to be a little bit more off-roadish, a little bit more forgiving, and you don't want this sportiest character in driving, so that's actually fine. The MF system always helps you a little bit also, when you push it. The rear axle is of course most active when there is slip in the front, when you are in these off-road modes, and it always is only active up to a speed of 90 kilometers an hour. Above that, it's front wheel drive anyway, and also the majority of the power will always come from the front wheels. So it won't change the driving characteristics that much, but it's there basically when you need it. So it's mainly something when you say, hey, maybe in the winter time, I live in a region where there's a lot of snow or the ice, and you need to get up a hill quite often. Then it's probably helpful. For most others, it will not be the crucial factor, definitely. But I really like the smooth and fun driving experience here with the Jeep Avenger. And this is the same, almost what I said with the Fiat 600. They are also, at least in the entry price, pretty similar indeed. This one here, of course, when you get that the all-wheel drive as well, then it goes higher when you are in the higher trim levels, that you definitely pay much more money. And here, for example, now, again, goes to charge when we go a little bit downhill. So I'm looking forward to see also in the comparison with the same engine with the Fiat 600 with the manual gearbox, what we end up for the consumption and at the end of this driving part. And still to come is also some part of German Autobahn. And German Autobahn, let's go one more time, sport mode, 82. 100. 120. Yeah, you see that when you are already at speed, it takes time from zero. It's nice, you use the low weight of the vehicle, then it's actually fine. But when you're already at speed and go even further, then the small engine is just as, just limited basically. Up to 100 kilometers now, it's actually nice. Here from 120, 130, it gets quite loud in here. So that's not the main focus of that vehicle, definitely. Yeah, now we had 130 kilometers an hour, 80 miles an hour. There's significant wind noise here, like from the A-pillar and so on. Maybe it's still not too bad, but not the most pleasant feeling. Suspension-wise, you also feel a different setup here. So definitely the Jeep Avenger is softer in the setup in comparison to the Fiat 600 and also the Alfa Junior. They can go from Fiat, from Jeep to Fiat to Alfa, from like off-roadish, softish to sportier in the suspension setup. And It's astonishing how much difference that actually makes, because Leah also told me that she preferred as a passenger to be in the Fiat 600 because you don't fly around so much as a passenger, you know. So when the suspension here is way softer, then it really goes like more like back and forth, you know, especially in the corners. Here in the motorway, it's kind of like, okay, it's more going straight and so on, but the more corners there are, the passenger might feel a little bit irritated if you drive sporty in this Jeep Avenger then, because the suspension is definitely softer. But that's what the brand is also promising, this softer setup, more off-roadish in the feeling and so on. And I think it's also okay for that. You can go for the other siblings then if you actually prefer that in driving. But here when I'm going motorway, changes here like left and right, the lane changes, that's actually fine. It's more about when you are in this tight cornering scenario. Yeah, but here definitely with 20 kilometers an hour, 75 miles an hour, I think it's still okay. Everything above that gets a little bit unpleasant then with wind noise and so on. Systems, by the way, in the Fiat 600 we just had the basic cruise control. Here there's already, see here the green steering symbol here. Distance to the front is being kept as well. But the active lane keeping is not like a modern active lane keeping where you can just trust on it and the car steers you, because sometimes it doesn't hold you so much in the middle, and sometimes also, yeah, at the moment it's okay. Now here you can see it is steering. That's okay. I had moments before where it wasn't doing it properly, but here now, yeah, that's better. And I also had moments where the car was complaining. Yeah, there we go. Keep your hands on the wheel. So it's maybe not realizing it with capacitive control. You sometimes have to push it a little bit. And then here in this situation, it's working more or less well. But we also had situations where it wasn't going that proper. So yeah, maybe not the most necessary feature then here with this one, honestly. So let's go off the motorway once again, that we can change it back and forth. Let me show you something more of this sporty driving characteristic. Leah is looking forward to that, very enthusiastic. So because a roundabout is approaching, yeah, also when you are on the brakes and you feel like it's diving in the front a little bit. That didn't happen so much with the Fiat 600 with that setup. Never thought that I mentioned Fiat as a especially sporty brand. It's like, yeah, that is astonishing indeed. So, you know, in the roundabout, okay, I wasn't pushing it so much, but yeah, you get the picture, leaning more into the corners, softer setup. If you have some maybe soft off-road situations, if you want it sporty, you can go then for the Fiat 600 or the Alfa Junior. Fuel economy, MPG, so it's 43 mpg US, 51 mpg UK, and 5.5 liters or more kilometers here with the MHEV system. And last time with the Fiat 600 without the MHEV. So difference is about 0.5 to 1 liter difference, which is better than here, or about 5 mpg better than here with the MHEV system. Pricing, this one here starts with the petrol manual at 26,000 euros. That's just, you know, some 1,500 euros more expensive than the Fiat 600, but then you get the Jeep badge at least already. And as it stands here right now, as the mild hybrid all-wheel drive, the 4xe version, then also the top trim, you have here the 85th anniversary trim, but you can also go for a normal other different higher trim, and then you would pay for a highest spec here in the petrol version around 39,000 euros. What do you think about it? Is that worth here for the Jeep Avenger? And you can now compare the Fiat 600 or the bigger Jeep Compass.